يا علي.
يا ساكن بقلبي وعليك يظل نحبي يا بني الأكبر. يا ساكن بقلبي وعليك يظل نحبي يا بني الأكبر.
أحسنت. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما ولي الله الأعظم حجة الله ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ولعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. يا غريب الغرباء، يا مظلوم كربلاء، السلام على من جعل الله الشفاء في تربته. السلام على من الإجابة تحت قبته. السلام على ساكن كربلاء. فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي. يا سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، كتب سيد الشهداء إمام أبي عبد الله الحسين إلى أخيه محمد بن حنفية: إني لم أخرج أشرا ولا بترا ولا مفسدا ولا ظالما، وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي. أريد أن أعمر بالمعروف وأنهي عن المنكر وأسير في سيرة جدي وأبي علي بن أبي طالب. صدق الإمام وآمنا به. زينوا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد. ثانيا لتعجيل الفرج. Sayyid al-Shuhada Imam Abi Abdullah al-Hussein left Medina on the 27th of Rajab, 60th year after Hijrah. And this was approximately between 12 to 15 days after Yazid ibn Muawiyah alayhi la'ana had proclaimed himself as the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For the Imam left the city of revelation to head towards the city built upon the worship, Makkah al-Mukarramah. And the vicious, violent nature of Yazid al-La'in was manifest and very clear from the first days upon which he took the seat of Khilafah. For Yazid had ordered his governor in Medina, Walid ibn Ataba, alayhi la'ana, that if Imam al-Hussein was to refuse to give the pledge of allegiance, then he should be killed. For the Imam left the city of revelation, which in itself is a symbol that the revelation, the revolution and the nature of the uprising of Sayyid al-Shuhada was one that was based on reform and non-violence. And this is outlined in his letter towards Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, his brother, which we cited at the end of the khutbah, where he outlines the goal, the mission statement of this haraka ilahiyya, of this divine revolution. Sayyid al-Shuhada says to Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, إِنِّي لَمْ أَخْرُجْ أَشَرًّا وَلَا بَتْرًا وَلَا ظَالِمًا وَلَا مُفْسِدًا. I do not come out of this land, out of Medina, neither as an oppressor, neither as a person who wills evil. I do not come here as somebody, or I do not stand up in revolution as somebody who wants fasad. Neither am I a dhalim. What is the mission statement? What is the outlying factor behind the revolution of Sayyid al-Shuhada? إنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي رسول الله. I have come out to implement reforms within the nation of my grandfather. I have come to perform, or I want to perform, Amr bil Ma'ruf, and to indulge in Nahy anil Munkar, to walk in the path of Rasulullah and in the path of my father, Amir al-Mu'mineen. For the symbol of the revolution of Sayyid al-Shuhada was one that was based on non-violent, peaceful reformation. Had Sayyid al-Shuhada's initial motive or initial goal been to achieve power, even at the price of bloodshed and violence, then Sayyid al-Shuhada would have taken his mawqif in Medina. It was very easy, as you may all have known, that when Imam al-Hussein was called into Medina by the governor to come and to pledge allegiance, and Marwan tells Walid ibn Utbah, if you do not kill Hussein at this time, you will never be able to kill him. What had happened? Sayyid al-Shuhada had come into the house of the governor with 19 of the most strongest, bravest warriors from Bani Hasham, from amongst them being Abul Fadl al-Abbas, from amongst them being Muslim bin Aqil, from amongst them being Ali al-Akbar, Abdullah ibn Jafar, husband of Sayyida Zainab. If Sayyid al-Shuhada wanted to shed blood, then there is, even if the entire of Medina was to stand in an army against Abul Fadl and Muslim bin Aqil, they would not have stood a chance. For Imam al-Hussein, despite possessing the power, manpower in terms of warrior and military capability, you see Sayyid al-Shuhada chooses an option and a path of non-violence and leaves towards Makkah al-Mukarramah. For the narrations tell us that Imam al-Hussein left Medina on the 27th of Rajab and reached Makkah on the 3rd of Sha'ban. He then stayed in Makkah al-Mukarramah for a period of 4 months and 5 days. From the 3rd of Sha'ban until, a number of historians tell us, the day of Tarwiyah, or the 8th day of Dhul Hijjah, after which he left from Makkah to go towards Iraq. However, Within these 4 months and 5 days, Sayyid al-Shuhada made Makkah al-Mukarramah the central hub for his political activities. And it is within Makkah al-Mukarramah that Sayyid al-Shuhada began to lay down the foundations to make the revolution of Ashura into a global affair. A person comes forward and asks, why is it that Sayyid al-Shuhada chose to go towards Makkah? Why did he not go to Yemen when there were many people from the Shias of Amir al-Mu'mineen who were sympathetic towards Sayyid al-Shuhada? Why did Sayyid al-Shuhada not go to Iran, for example? One of his wives, the mother of Imam Zainul Abidin salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, was the daughter of the former king of Iran. Why did he not go there? Why did he not go to Bahrain, where he had sympathy and a large following under the leadership of Sa'sa' bin Sohan? Why did the Imam insist on going towards Makkah al-Mukarramah? Before we answer this question and look into the wisdom of the Imam, it is imperative for us to understand, number one, that a Ma'soom Imam does not take any qarar. The Ma'soom Imam does not perform any action except that there is divine guidance behind it, a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, the judgment of an infallible Imam is impeccable, and there is an ocean of wisdom as to why the Imam decided to go towards Makkah al-Mukarramah. Tonight we shall explore two of these many reasons. Number one, Makkah al-Mukarramah is a land that was created on the basis of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From the very first time that Nabi Adam came down to the earth, you see that he was the first prophet to perform the manasik of Hajj. Based upon this, you find that Makkah al-Mukarramah is the land on which Nabi Ibrahim built the Kaaba, which is the sole universal symbol of Tawheed. Makkah al-Mukarramah is the same land which in the 9th year after Hijrah, Rasulullah comes and liberates and frees this land of idol worship. Makkah al-Mukarramah, a land that signifies the universal call towards Tawheed. For Sayyid al-Shuhada saw no better land than Makkah al-Mukarramah. If you are going to implement reformation or call the Ummah of Rasulullah towards reforming the religion of Islam, there is no better place to do it than the place where the symbol of Tawheed, the Kaaba in itself, lies. And it is based perhaps on this seerah that it is prophesied for us in the narrations of Ahlul Bayt that when the master of our time, the savior of mankind, Imam Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman, upon his reappearance, when he comes forward and implements the Islah al-Kubra, when he establishes a global universal government under the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt, he will begin this reformation from Makkah al-Mukarramah. For the choice of Makkah as a place was strategic because of its divinity, because of the divinity that is attached to this land. Number two, you look at the timing with which Sayyid al-Shuhada came into Makkah and the duties that he performed over there. We said that Imam al-Hussein came into Makkah on the 3rd of Sha'ban. The months of Rajab, the month of Sha'ban, and the month of Shahr Ramadan are the 3 months where it is extremely mustahab to perform Umrah. And the Umrah Rajabiyya, by the way, between brackets, surpasses any other Umrah performed in any other month. The month of Dhil Hijjah, or the months of Shawwal, Dhil Qa'ad and Dhil Hijjah then begin or mark the season of Hajj. For Sayyid al-Shuhada, when he decided to come into Makkah, this was an opportunity for him to meet the Mu'tamirin and to meet the Hujjaj from every corner of the globe. And this was an opportunity for Imam al-Hussein to come and to announce the values and the principles and the goals of his revolution to the Muslim from every every corner of the Islamic land. This was an opportunity of Sayyid al-Shuhada to expose the evil of Yazid and the evils of the likes of his father Muawiyah alayhima la'anatillah to the entire Muslim world. The wisdom behind this is that Imam al-Hussein wanted his revolution to have a global audience. As you may know, during the Khilafah of his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Muslim Ummah expanded or stretched from Hijaz up to North Africa, from North Africa up to the seashores of Andalus, from Andalus all the way into Persia, from Persia into the borders of Afghanistan. Historians tell us that the Hukuma of Amir al-Mu'mineen is equivalent to the present 51-day countries. For when Muslims from every corner or a big part of the earth come towards Makkah al-Mukarramah and centralize their attention towards worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, over there they find the grandson of Rasulullah, the fifth person who was under the Kisa, calling them towards wilayah of Ahlul Bayt. For Imam al-Hussein's choice to go towards Makkah was a strategic one, and the strategy behind this was to give a global audience, to make the message of Islam being unified and protected from corruption under the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt had to be given a global voice. For the strategic decision, and perhaps it is following in this seerah that Imam al-Baqir salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi in his wasiyah to his son, the sixth Imam, says to him, "O my son, upon my martyrdom, I want you to arrange for a period of 10 years for women to gather in the land of Mina." When? During the time of Hajj, such that they may weep for me, weep over my madlumiyya. And hence it became a tradition of Imam as-Sadiq that for 10 years and even after that, that every year that the Mawsam of Hajj would come, the Shi'as of Ahlul Bayt would hold a Majalis Aza in the Mina, crying and weeping and wailing at the top of their voices. Look at the hikmah behind this. Why? The message of Sayyid al-Shuhada is not to be restricted towards a certain group of people or towards a certain sect within Islam. Rather, the message of Sayyid al-Shuhada, the madlumiyya of Sayyid al-Shuhada, is to be given a global voice. Ajib, the Hujjaj are completing their manasik of Hajj in Mina. Those of you who have done Hajj know that you come to Mina on the 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, Eidul Adha. Over here the Hujjaj globally are busy shaving their heads in the halak, performing the tadhiyah and stoning the jamarat. A day of joyous occasion, a day of celebration. Over here you find the Shias of Ali Muhammad under the command of Imam as-Sadiq weeping for Imam al-Hussein. Why? To draw the attention of the masses that when you are going to perform your halak and you are going to shave your head, remember over here that the same Hajj that which you come for, the same Prophet that you come to venerate in 61 AH, this grandson's, this Rasul's, this same Prophet's grandson was martyred. Inta ya Hujjaj, when you go and you perform the dhabiha, remember that in 61 AH the grandson of Rasulullah was slaughtered in the same way that you perform the tadhiyah over here. Ya Habibi, enter when you go to the Jamarat al-Aqaba and you stone the shaitan. This is a symbolism. The goal behind holding a majlis aza and weeping for Imam al-Hussein in Mina was to show the people, Habibi, enter, you are stoning a symbolic shaitan over here. But the real shaitan and the personification of the shaitan which you are supposed to stone is seating in Sham. But Hajj is not a joke. Hajj is not a set of rituals that are supposed to be taken. Hajj revolves around the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt, as we will see in the coming nights. For Imam al-Baqir chooses a strategic place following the footsteps of Sayyid al-Shuhada, to ensure that the entire Muslim Ummah gets to hear about the Madlumiyah of Sayyid al-Shuhada, such that when they go back to their faraway lands, be it Egypt, be it Algeria, be it Afghanistan, be it Azerbaijan at that time, which was under the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, wherever you go back, when a Haji comes back to his homeland, they ask him, how did you find the Kaaba? How did you find the Jamarat? As he explains the manasik of Hajj, he tells them, we even heard that the grandson of Rasulullah was martyred. Shuf, how does the message of Imam al-Hussein become global? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Husainiyat! 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 Alay khushnudi Imam Zamana salawat!
For when Sayyid al-Shuhada selected Makkah al-Mukarramah to be the central hub of his political activities, there was divine wisdom behind it. This was a strategic place which Sayyid al-Shuhada chose to ensure that the message of his revolution would be global. Apart from this, the political activities which Sayyid al-Shuhada engaged in, apart from inviting the Mu'tamirin and the Hujjaj from every part of the Muslim land towards the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt, you will find it is within Makkah al-Mukarramah that Imam al-Hussein began to receive the letters that were written by the Kufans. Sayyid ibn Tawus in Malhuf narrates that the letters which reached Imam al-Hussein from Kufa, the people of Kufa inviting Imam al-Hussein to come towards him and to lead him in revolution against Bani Umayyah, the numbers ended up or added up to 12,000. Dawood ibn Abi al-Hind narrates that the letters that reached Imam al-Hussein were 40,000. And a person should not say over here that there are discrepancies, one hadith is weak, one hadith is strong. Ya Habibi, a person who looks into this issue with deep contemplation says, both these hadith are right. 12,000 is correct and 40,000 is also correct. How? Because sometimes when one letter or one da'wah to Imam al-Hussein, there can be 4 or 5 signatories. But for the tradition say that whether it is 40,000 or 12,000 that reached over there, Imam received thousands and thousands of letters from the Kufans inviting him to come towards Kufa and to lead him in revolution. So it is from Makkah al-Mukarramah that Imam al-Hussein replied back to them and sent to them his Safir and his deputy Sayyid Muslim bin Aqil alayhi salam to go towards Kufa on the month of Shahrul Ramadan. For he sends Muslim bin Aqil there and he tells Muslim bin Aqil, you are my deputy, to give bay'ah to you is to give bay'ah to me. Allahu Akbar, the daraja of Muslim bin Aqil. And he tells his cousin Muslim, when you go to the land of Kufa, I want you to assess the situation in the ground. Are these people loyal in their actions like the way they write to me in their letters? If you find them to be loyal and you find them to be staunch in their support for us, I want you to take the bay'ah on my behalf and write back to me such that I may come towards Kufa. Muslim bin Aqil, under the command of Sayyid al-Shuhada, leaves Makkah towards Medina and from Medina towards Al-Kufa. And you know how the people of Kufa then went on to betray Sayyid al-Shuhada. For this was one of the activities, this was one of the political activities of the Imam. After inviting the Hujjaj and the Mu'tamirin towards his wilayah, the third activity of the Imam is that he initiated contact with the people of Basra and invited them towards the revolution of Ashura. The narration tells us that Imam al-Hussein wrote one letter to 6 tribal chiefs of Basra and then sent it out with his messenger by the name of Sulaiman, who was given the kunayya or the kuniyya of Ibn Razin. Sulaiman goes towards Basra. In this one letter, to paraphrase the text of this letter, Imam al-Hussein says to them, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, after praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored and selected Rasulullah above the entire creation, and he honored him with prophethood, and he chose him to convey the divine message. For Rasulullah conveyed that message, and when he was about to depart from this earth, he conveyed to them a message which was a trust from the divine Lord. Which was this message? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, the verse that was revealed in Hijjatul Wida. Ya ayyuhar rasul balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik wa in lam taf'al fama ballagta risalatah. This is the verse that was revealed before Rasulullah went at home in Ghadir and said, Man kuntum mawla fahada aliyyum mawla. If you look into the tafsir of this verse, the verse that is commanded by Allah says what? Balligh, fi'il amr, command, ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, what has been revealed to you. What is this message that has been revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Man kuntum mawla fahada aliyyum mawla. Wilaya of Amir al-Mu'mineen is a mansab ilahi. Imam al-Hussein says to them, that when before he departed, he conveyed the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we, the family of Rasulullah, are his successors and his inheritors. We are the closest and the most appropriate people to be in the place of leadership after him. But the people insisted on our enmity and usurped our rights from us. For we became discontent, but despite that, we accepted their qarar, as in we accepted their qarar with discontentment, knowing that we are more deserving of that position. Which position? Imamah. Than those who took it from us. And then the Imam ends the letter by saying, وَبَعَثْتُ رَسُولِي إِلَيْكُمْ وَأَدْعُوكُمْ إِلَى كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَسُنَّةِ نَبِيِّهِ فَإِنَّ قَدْ أُمِيتَتْ سُنَّتِهِ وَقَدْ أُحْيِيَتْ الْبِدْعَةِ إِن تَسْمَعُوا قَوْلِي أَهْدِيكُمْ إِلَى سَبِيلِ الرَّشَادِ. The Imam says to them, I have sent with you my messenger, and I call you towards the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and towards the sunnah of Rasulullah. For indeed the sunnah of Rasulullah is being killed or is being trampled upon, and the bid'ah is being given a voice. If you listen to my words or obey my call, I will lead you to the path of guidance and success. The letter of Imam al-Hussein to the people of Basra. 6 tribal chiefs of Basra. Tayyib, who are the recipients of this letter? Traditions, Sayyid ibn Tawus in Malhuf, and a number of the historians who have written the Makatil mention the 6 tribal leaders to whom Imam al-Hussein wrote to. The first person was by the name of Malik ibn Masma'. Who was Malik ibn Mas'a? A person who was an Amawi, staunch believer in the staunch supporter of Bani Umayyah. In fact, Malik ibn Masma was that person who even called the people towards giving bay'ah to Yazid after Karbala. The second person was Al-Ahnaf ibn Qais. Al-Ahnaf ibn Qais, when he saw this letter from Imam, he replies back to the Imam telling him, have sabr. The same person was involved in the killing of Mukhtar. The third person or the third recipient of this letter was Al-Qais ibn al-Haythami, who was the governor of Uthman during the time of, or the governor of Uthman over Khurasan. The fourth recipient of the letter was a person known as Mas'ud ibn Amr, who was a military general on the day of Jamal, fighting on the side of Aisha, Talha and Zubair. The fifth recipient of the letter was a person known as Al-Mundhir ibn Jarud. Mundhir ibn Jarud was, according to some traditions, the father-in-law of Ibn Ziyad, and according to other traditions, the brother-in-law of Ibn Ziyad. Do you know what Mundhir ibn Jarud did when he received the letter from this messenger who was a companion of Sayyid al-Shuhada? We said his name was Sulaiman, the Kunya ibn Razin. Mundhir ibn Jarud takes this companion to Ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad looks at him and he looks at the letter which he has come from Sayyid al-Shuhada. Ibn Ziyad tells him, you have been sent by Hussein ibn Ali. He says, yes. He says, you are calling people towards the imamat and the wilayah of Hussein ibn Ali. He says, yes, because the true wilayah, the true imamah can be with nobody other than the grandson of Rasulullah. Ibn Ziyad takes this companion Sulaiman and he crucifies him on a palm tree in Basra. The first shaheed from all the companions of Imam Hussein was Sulaiman ibn Razin. A person might ask, why did Sayyid al-Shuhada write letters to nawasib and khawarij such as these? Why did he write letters inviting his enemies and those who are enemies of his father and his brother, and risk jeopardizing the revolution of Karbala, the revolution of Ashura? The answer towards this is very simple, and it lies in two words: itmamul hujjah. This was to complete the hujjah upon them, such that on the day of judgment, nobody can say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Hussein ibn Ali did not invite us, or we were not aware about the revolution of Imam al-Hussein. This is such that nobody can point a finger on Imam al-Hussein on the day of judgment and say, you did not invite me towards your support on the day of Ashura. Secondly, Ya Habibi, Imam al-Hussein didn't need their help in Ashura. They are the ones who needed Imam al-Hussein. This was a mercy of Imam al-Hussein, inviting them towards Tawbah, inviting them towards the Wilayah. Wash away the sins that you were drenched in previously. I am giving you redemption. The same argument is given to those people who say, why do you cry for Imam al-Hussein? Why do you exert so much energy crying for Imam al-Hussein? Imam Hussein doesn't need your tears, Ya Habibi. Imam al-Hussein doesn't need anything from anybody. We are the ones who need to cry for Imam al-Hussein.
لبيك يا حسين 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 لبيك يا حسين.
Barakallah feekum. The time is racing against me. Isaiah, the sixth person to receive the letter from Basra, was a person by the name of Yazid ibn Mas'ud al-Nahshali. This was a person who was Salih, Mu'min, lover of Ahlul Bayt. When he received the letter of Sayyid al-Shuhada, he kissed this letter and he put it on his forehead, and straight away he went and he gathered the three tribes for with whom he was influential and a leader. He gathered the tribe of Bani Tamim, he gathered the tribe of Bani Handala, and he gathered the tribe of Bani Sa'ad, and he invited them towards supporting Imam al-Hussein. But the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was such that by the time Yazid ibn Mas'ud al-Nahshali was able to consolidate and gather the support of his tribesmen, by the time they were able to gather enough arms and leave Basra, despite all the sieges and curfews that were there, he got the news that Sayyid al-Shuhada had already been martyred in Karbala. Ibn Ziyad was based in Basra as the wali. After killing and after crucifying Sulaiman ibn Razin, he left towards Kufa to ensure that he will crush the revolution or the uprising that has begun by Muslim bin Aqil. And as the Arabian Peninsula began to become unstable, or as the Arabian Peninsula began unstable, and people started contemplating about the idea of joining hands with Sayyid al-Shuhada, Yazid al-La'in sent a contingency of 30 assassins under the leadership of Amr ibn Sa'id ibn As, to dress up or to be disguised as Hujjaj and to go towards Makkah al-Mukarramah and assassinate Imam al-Hussein in any way that they find him. Antum mu'mineen, those of you who have done Hajj, those of you who have not done Hajj, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to perform the Hajj al-Bayt insha'Allah. You know from the Muharramat of Ihram, when you are in a state of Ihram, you cannot even kill an insect. You cannot even uproot vegetation from the land of Makkah. Then what about these lu'ana who come there to shed the blood of the grandson of Rasulullah? For when Imam al-Hussein gets news that these people are coming, and he gets the intelligence that there is a plot to assassinate him within the divine precincts of the Haram, Alama al-Majlisi in Bihar al-Anwar says that Sayyid al-Shuhada changed the niyyah from Hajj Tamattu and performed the Umrah al-Mufrada and left Makkah on the day of Tarwiyah. Ajib, the entire alam is coming towards Makkah for Hajj. Over here you have Sayyid al-Shuhada going across the floor, leaving Makkah to go towards Iraq. The traditions tell us that Sayyid al-Shuhada reached Karbala on the second day of Muharram, yani the eve of tomorrow. Ibn Malhuf narrates that when Sayyid al-Shuhada approached a land from the lands of Iraq, his horse refused to move forward. For Imam al-Hussein got off this horse and he asked for another horse. The second horse refused to move. The third horse refused to move. Like this, Imam al-Hussein changed 7 horses, but none of these horses would move from its place. At this point, Imam al-Hussein asks the people, he asks from his companions, what is the name of this earth? One of the people come and said, the name of this earth is Ghadiriyah. Imam al-Hussein says, is there another name for this land? So another person comes forward and says, the name of this land is Nainawa. Imam al-Hussein says, is there another name for this land? They say the name of this land is Shati al-Furat, the banks of the Furat. Assalamu alayka ya Abul Fadl al-Abbas. Imam al-Hussein says, is there another name for this land? A companion comes forward and he says, the name of this land is Karbala. The tradition tells us that Sayyid al-Shuhada, he took a deep and a heavy breath that was filled with grief, and he said, Hada ardu karbin wa bala. The narrations tell us, Ibn Lahuf, again in the book of Lahuf, Sayyid Ibn Tawus says, when Imam al-Hussein got off his horse and he put his blessed foot on the land of Karbala for the first time, the sand underneath the feet of Imam al-Hussein changed into the color of za'faran. Kulthum says, at this time a dark black wind began to blow in the direction of Imam al-Hussein, and the blessed head and the beard of Imam al-Hussein was covered with dust and sand from Karbala. I say, wa wayla, Kulthum, it is not long before this same head and this same beard will be covered with blood. Allah, Allah. Sayyid al-Shuhada begins to walk on the land of Karbala, and he says, Ha huna wallahu masfak dima'ina, Ha huna wallahi يحتك حرمة حريمنا. He says, this is the place, wallah, here, wallah, our blood will be spilled. He says, here, wallah, that our women will be made into captives. He says, ha huna wallahu maktalu rijalina. He says, ha huna wallah dhibhu atfalina. Imam al-Hussein says, this is here, wallah, is the place where our man will be killed. He says, here, wallah, is where our children are going to be slaughtered. Allah, Allah, ya Shi'at Amir al-Mu'mineen, keep your hand on your heart, because I have a message for you from Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein delivers a message from the land of Karbala for his Shi'as. Antum mu'minin and mu'minat. This is a message of Imam al-Hussein for each and every one of you. What is this message? Sukaina, Allah, Allah. Sukaina says on the 11th day of Muharram. Sukaina says on the 11th day of Muharram, I threw myself on the body of my father, on the decapitated body of my father. She goes on to say, وَسَمِعْتُ صَوْتًا يَخْرُجْ مِنْ مَنْحَرِ أَبِي. Sayyida Sukaina says that on the 11th of Muharram, I heard a voice come out from the manhar. Do you know what is the manhar, ya Shia? She says, I heard a voice from the part of the neck of my father where his head was cut. She says, I heard a voice from there, and the voice of Imam al-Hussein says, Bunayya Sukayna, Ibligi Salami ila Shi'ati. Ya Shi'at Amir al-Mu'minin, Shia of Dar es-Salam, this is the words of your Imam. Imam al-Hussein tells Sukayna, give my Shias my salam. عليك السلام يا أبا عبد الله. But what is the message of Imam al-Hussein? Sukayna says that my father said to them, Iblagi or Ikra'i salami ila shi'ati wa kuli lahum inni kutiltu ghariban fandibuni. He says, tell my Shia that I was killed while I was gharib, so they should weep for me. Bad. He tells Sukayna, Bunayya Sukayna, Kuli lahum, Kutila abi atshana. He says, tell my Shia that I was killed while I was thirsty. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون ولعنة الله على أعدائهم. اللهم إنا نسألك بحق سيد الشهداء ثبتنا إلى ولاية أمير المؤمنين. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.